Hey there Scorpio, it's Viv and welcome to your week ahead reading for the 16th to the 22nd of July 2018. I'm using the Spellcasters Tarot by Melanie Marquis and it's an 8-card spread, so one card for the overall energy for the week and then one each for the rest of the days, Monday through the rest of the days? The days of the week, Monday through Sunday. Okay, so the overall energy for the week we have is the Five of Wands, and here we have 5 people. 4 of them are blindfolded and have their sticks and playing a jolly jape of piñata with a wasp's nest, which is not exactly the wisest course of action because they could end up hurting themselves quite a bit and making the wasps very angry and getting stung. And here we have somebody who's off to the side, who's not blindfolded, but who's stood just watching on, knowing that this could all end really badly, but they're not doing anything to stop it. So there are 2 things that this is telling me. There's either somebody in your environment that doesn't have your best interests at heart and they're just game playing. Or this is pointing to internal conflict. It's pointing to a decision that you're having to make, that you're faced with making, and you're trying to work out what is in your best interest, and whether the decision you have to make is would take you down a foolish path, if it's a foolish course of action or not. So on Monday we have the 8 of Wands, and how many cards have we got? 4 out of the 8 of this week's cards are Wands cards. So the 5 of Wands here are contained in the 8 of Wands. So something to do with either the person who doesn't have your best interests at heart. You receive communication about them, which is like a warning to you, and so you perhaps have an insight about them, that you realise something suddenly about them that you weren't aware of before, and it arrives in the shape of a warning. It could be messages that they send you. It could be some form of either written or verbal communication. Maybe somebody talking about them, maybe them talking to you. Something in their tone indicates that I don't know, that it just gives you the impression that not all is well, and you suddenly have a suspicion that they're jealous of you, or that they're playing games. This could also indicate it could indicate travel. It could indicate a situation moving on, moving ahead, and progress being made really quite quickly. It could also indicate the desire for something to move ahead. It's like a wanting for something to become clear, a wanting for something to turn out. Perhaps you are waiting for communication about a new job. Perhaps you are there's a desire for your physical situation to change, so perhaps you want to move to a new property, to a new location. Maybe you want to go abroad, or just go to a new city, and you are trying to decide what is the best course of action, what would be in your best interest. If you do move, if you do change jobs, if you do change locations, would it work out for the best, or is it just pie in the sky? Is it just daft? And would you end up making life more difficult for yourself if you did that? As we move into Tuesday, something about yesterday's communication and yesterday's insight has you deciding whether to turn your back on something or not. and again, the overall energy is whether this is the internal conflict is whether this turning your back on something is the right course of action, or whether it's in your best interest. You have a level of emotional investment here. You've already built something here, but there's a feeling of sacrifice that you need to make if you're walking away from something. Perhaps there's a relationship that you have been invested in, and you wanted it to progress in a particular way, and it's not quite turned out how you imagined, or you're beginning to wonder whether that person is the right person for you, whether you're both in harmony, whether you're singing off the same hymn sheet. It could be that you're the actions of somebody you consider to be a friend, you're wondering whether to just drop them now, because they are revealing themselves to be a game player and they don't have your best interests at heart. Or perhaps you've received news of some kind of offer the day before, and you are wondering whether to turn your back on where you are at the moment, walk away from what you have right now, and start something new, and whether that would be in your best interest, or whether you'd be daft to do that. This decisions that you're facing, it's weighing on you quite heavily, and it's weighing on you so much. You are trying to make progress, but you're not making very clear progress. In fact, you're quite off balance. You're not very sure-footed. The situation just is not very balanced at the moment. It feels quite weighty. It's like it's weighing you down. Two of these wands are on the floor, and so they've been dropped off this load already, and so it's the 8 of Wands that the figure is carrying. So it's the whatever came through in the form of the insight or the news in the earlier part of the week, it's now weighing heavy on you, and it feels like it's quite a stressful situation, and the way ahead just isn't very clear. I think as we move through the week, that this is the King of Pentacles. This could be the influence of a father figure. Now, it doesn't have to be your physical father. It could be somebody who's in that sort of role, male or female. Just somebody who is very wise, very strong, very grounded, and they have a wealth of experience and knowledge, and they are there to advise you. They are there to help you overcome this internal conflict, or they give you some news about what's in your best interest, or whether a person is game playing with you or not. So the influence of this energy is that a decision, I think you come to a decision that helps you to feel very secure and very certain, that all of a sudden things become clear, and there is a feeling of a very sort of firm decision being made here, and that it kind of, although this isn't like a King of Swords, but it's like this decision is very grounding, and it just cuts through all the nonsense. It's like all of a sudden there's clarity, and you can see the best course of action. You can see who has your best interests at heart, and it becomes very clear what the way ahead for you is, what the best course of action for you is. as you move towards the end of the week, there is a feeling of overcoming. There's a feeling of getting over this challenge. And so we have, this is the Six of Wands, and so these conflicted Five of Wands are being risen above. So there is a feeling of triumph here. There's a feeling of respect here. There's a feeling of freedom here, and focus and determination that's indicated by the bird. So the influence of yesterday's King of Pentacles really helps there to be a sense of triumph over this situation, a sense of clarity, and a sense of security. I think as we get towards the weekend, the Five of Pentacles, it becomes clear that your chosen course of action, there is a door that's been firmly closed. So perhaps you've walked away from a friendship, or perhaps you've walked away from a relationship. The decision that you've made, it feels like there is very definitely no going back. It's a very firm decision, a very secure decision that isn't foolish, that is in your best interests. But hey, change is difficult. Forging a new path, taking those steps out on a new path and going in your own direction, it's hard. And so sometimes we look back and wonder whether we could have done things differently, wonder whether things could have turned out differently. But there's support here for you. You're not alone, and somebody is here that is acting in your best interest. So whilst this may have been, it's not the easiest of moments, you have support around you. And as we get towards the end of the week, I think there's a feeling of getting there. It's a feeling of not being 100% ecstatically happy, but things are in order. Things are lined up. There's a feeling of organisation. There's a feeling of correctness. There's a feeling of things being in place after this conflict, things settling back down. And there is a potential here for, here we have there's a genie coming out of one of these cups here. So there's a potential for things to turn out, this new direction that you're headed in, to turn out exactly how you want. There's a potential for wishes being granted here. There's a potential for true happiness here. So all in all, Scorpio, it does feel like quite a week with a bit of conflict, a week with a bit of decision, but it starts off not being sort of very clear, and it weighing heavy on you. But by the time we get to the end of the week, then my feeling is that you do overcome that, and that the way ahead becomes clear, and that this has the potential to be something really fulfilling for you, something that where your wishes come true. So there we go, Scorpio. I hope you found that useful, and that it resonated. I'll be back next time with another reading, so until then, take care.